Okay, not so sure now. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm not sure if anyone can hear me. If you can hear me, just indicate. Okay, I can see light there. Okay, great. Um, so just give it a few more minutes for people to join in. There's some people are still trying to get connected. Just trying to see because I had to admit people for them to be able to get connected. So I might have to check that settings so I can just let people in directly when they join. Okay, in the meantime, I would um like to know where you're connected from. I believe most people are connected from Nigeria, but I also know that some people also will be joining from other parts of the world. So to be great to just use the chat just to let me know. It's in that case it's easier for me to know um kind of audience I'm actually reaching out to and also the kind of information I'll be providing as well. So I would like to know your country or your city. Hey, I see Abuja, Nigeria. Thanks for joining. Mm, Paris, France. Thanks for joining. Port Harcourt, Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining. Schwazet, Luxembourg. That's where I am. Thanks for joining. Just to share for a minute. See. Okay. Okay. So just give 2 more minutes, and then we kick off. If others are going to join along the line, they would. In any case, I'll be recording it, this session, the webinar, so that we could also make reference to those at a later date as well. I see Kogi State, Nigeria. Thanks for joining. Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining. 1 more minute, and then we kick off. We just drop a message on the podcast group to let them know that we are live. Okay, so let's kick this off. Thanks everyone for joining. I believe, as I have communicated earlier, this is a webinar that is solely focused on financial goals. But at the same time, I intend to put several other subjects as time may permit. It's important to also get some writing materials if you can, or notes, just to take some notes. I know that there are several people connected from different parts, so I'll try as much as possible to be um, there as possible. I would imagine some of the terms I might use might not be too familiar with some of you, but um, don't worry. If you have any question afterwards, I would take out some time to respond to your questions. Um, Yeah, so I believe it's it's um it's the beginning of a new year. We are not so far into the year, and there are so many people at the beginning of the year who thought to themselves that they want to achieve something financially, you know, in terms of financial resolutions, setting financial resolutions for themselves. Maybe in prior years, it was like, okay, they had set a financial goal, but as a result of maybe one or two constraints or one or two challenges, they were unable to meet those targets, you know. So of course, everyone has resolutions, just the way you have resolutions for your personal goals. You have resolutions for things that you did last year. Maybe, for example, you're someone that were not really um uh prudent with the kind of food you eat in the previous year. You might say to yourself, okay, this new year, I want to make sure that I pay attention to the kind of food I eat because I feel like it wasn't balanced enough. It wasn't a balanced diet, or maybe I was eating out a lot, and this time around, I want to ensure that I reduce that or limit that. You know, this could be some resolutions that people can make for themselves. So just the way you have um those personal resolutions at the beginning of the year, it's also very important to pay attention, close attention to financial resolutions. And that's why I thought to also share um, this have this webinar with you guys to give you more information and help you understand the importance of setting financial goals because I've seen situations of people where they end up procrastinating things a lot financially, and then they end up in a situation that they are not supposed to be in, and as a result, it becomes like a challenge for them, and they find it difficult to come out of it. You know, so the year is still early, and having seen how the year has been so far, is this be a very early stage for you to um to focus on setting financial goals. So the purpose of this webinar is actually going to be focused on financial goals. So what I'm going to be sharing with you some information with respect to goal setting and all that. And then afterwards, I'll kind of touch on a bit of because I know based on the poll that I shared on my Instagram channel broadcast, I had seen the result, and obviously there were several other areas of concern that people would want to focus this year on, the areas of investment, the areas of savings, as well as, creating multiple streams of income. So I'll try as much as possible. Of course, this webinar might not be able to cover so much, uh, so much of all these subjects because it is a very broad subject. If you're talking about investment, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to investment. If you're talking about savings, there's a lot to talk about. There are so many techniques. The same thing with multiple streams of income. You know, so even though I'm focusing more today on this on setting financial goals, I will try as much as possible to also address some areas when it comes to investment, savings, and also creating multiple streams of income. So that's how it's going to be. I'll try as much as possible to have everything summarized, and then I'll give time for some people who might have one or two questions they want to ask. Um, so is it clear what I've said so far? Are we clear? Okay, thank you so much. So I prepared some slides. I believe that will be of help just to give us a bit more um clarity into goals and setting of goals and why it's important to to set goals. So um just a second. So I'm going to be sharing now. Can you please confirm if you can see my screen? Can you see the PowerPoint displaying? Just want to be sure. Okay, perfect. Great. Okay, so like I said, um it's all about financial goals, and like I said, I'll be addressing other aspects of several other subjects as per the poll that we ran. So now it's important to understand, like I said, for everything in life generally, every individual has goals. You know, you have goals that you set for yourself that you want to achieve in your life. You know, it could be short term, it could be long term, but goals is something that um you don't just set goals. You have to ensure that you have to put in effort into, realizing those goals. You know, everyone that's purposeful, everyone that is actually goal driven, it's not just about just seeing it from a perspective of just saying I'm a goal-driven person or I'm a goal-driven individual. There are several things that actually is encapsulated in that term goals, And as an individual, it's important that you always ensure that you are not just setting goals, but you are seeing to it that these goals are met, you know. So like if you look at the slide that I just shared here, you will see that um, goals are very vital, you know, and the way to be able to measure your goals, you have to ensure that you use the SMART strategy, you know. Your goals have to be specific, it has to be specific. You have to state exactly what has to be done, what do you want to achieve, it's very, very important. And then you have to also measure those goals. You have to measure those goals because um, not just having specific goals, you have to also ensure that these goals can be measured. These goals can be measured. And then, of course, it has to be attainable. It's not every, there are certain stages your goals can differ, depending on circumstances, depending on your environment, depending on so many other factors. So, but you have to ensure that you take into account the fact that your goals have to be attainable. It has to also be realistic. I see so many people set goals that um they are not even sure if they can meet those goals. It's not about just setting goals. You have to ensure that you are setting realistic goals. And of course, you have to put a timeline on your goals. It has to be there has to be a time frame. If you say you want to achieve this particular thing, it has to go in line with how long within what period of time, within which period of time do you want to achieve these things. So having goals that are smart is very, very important for you, especially when it comes to your finances. Now, why is it important for you to set goals? There was a research done um in the book What They Don't Teach You in Harvard Business School. That was 1979 by this author, I think Mark Cromack. So what happened here was he was actually he asked students, some group of students a question. He says, have you set clear written goals for your future and made plans to accomplish them? Now, from that question, 3% of those students said yes, they had plans written down. Now, 13% had goals, but they didn't have it written down. And then 84% even did not have goals at all. So now you see from this question, you could see that in the next slide, you could see that 10 years later, the 3% that had goals written down, were the ones that on average were earning 10 times more than the 97% put together. You see, so you see that it's not just all about having goals and say I have a goal. You know, a goal that you don't have a plan for is just a mere wish. You see, a goal that is not hinged on a plan will result in just mere wishes, just wishful thinking. you know. So it's important that you are not just, you have to be intentional about your goal setting. You know, at the beginning of the year, like, when I ran the poll, I know that um there were some people who said, okay, we are on it, you know. I think from the poll, we had about 23%. Okay, sorry, it was the second poll, which was saying 39% of some people were actually on had actually set goals, I would say. Yeah. And then we have 39% that were on it. It was like a split between, yes, we have our financial goal set, and then we are on it. And then we had 18% that would require some sort of assistance with goal setting, financial goal setting. And of course, we had a bit of I think 4% just they've not started working on it. That was as at the last poll I ran. Obviously, I believe by now, um, most people must have their financial goals set. But like I said, it's very, very important to have a financial goal at the beginning of the year, because having having a financial goal gives you a clear sense of focus and a clear sense of direction, financially. It's very, very, very important, very, very, very important, So like I said, your goal has to follow the smart strategy. It has to follow the smart strategy, very, very, very important. Now, of course, when it comes to goal setting, there are several categories. You have the long-term goals, your short-term goals and your mid-term goals. So it depends on you as a person. What do you want to achieve financially within the short term? What do you want to achieve financially within the long term? Maybe it's something that you want to think about critically before even having a plan or setting your goals. Long-term goals specified as like something that has to do between think from 5 years to about 10, 15 years, more than 5 years. Short term is more within the space of a year, you know, something between the space of 6 months to a year. And of course, midterm, it has to do with you're looking at space of a year, 5 years, you know. So it depends on you as a person, as an individual, where you want to go with your goals financially. It's very, very important to pay attention to that. Now, like I said earlier, you have short-term goals that are less than 5 years. These are some of the examples of um some goals that people can set within the less like the within 5 year period. There are some people that maybe they want to start. Maybe from previous years they were not so prudent when it comes to the area of savings and investment, but they know that this year for them is something that they want to really focus on. They can include that on their financial goal and say to themselves that, okay, I want to start saving more. Maybe I was saving like uh, I don't know, maybe $500 every month. And then I discovered that I think $500 is not enough. I want to increase my savings by a certain percentage. They can start doing that. Maybe it's someone that was not really exposed to the investment market. You want to do that this um this year. You say, okay, I want to be more aware about the investment market. You know, Maybe it's someone that is not so open or aware when it comes to finance. Person doesn't have so much financial knowledge. You want to invest in yourself financially through knowledge. That could be a goal that you could set for yourself within a short term, to get to pay close attention to the kind of financial information that you get for yourself. So um, things like this can fall under the category of short-term goals. And as you can see here, creating a contingency fund for emergency. This is something that most people they don't tend to do, especially in an environment where they feel like, okay, the economy is not as sustainable as they would want it to be. Um, they tend to live from hand to mouth. It's not, it's very important to understand that, you cannot just solely depend on your 9 to 5. I believe some people are doing 9 to 5, like you are working 9 to 5. Some people might just be doing maybe like one or two things to generate income. But like we are in a dispensation where you cannot solely depend on 9 to 5. If you want to become wealthy, 9 to 5 will never make you wealthy. And that's the truth. In 9 to 5 will never make you wealthy. And that's why towards the later part of this webinar, I'm going to be sharing with you some important points on how you could also create multiple streams of income and how I was able to navigate my way, because also I have a 9 to 5, but I know that for myself, 9 to 5 will not be able to sustain me, you know. So I have to also think about what are the other ways that I can create multiple streams of income in order to be able um to not solely depend on the 9 to 5 income. So I'll be talking a bit more about that at a later stage as we proceed. So we also have medium-term goals. Of course, these are some of the examples. If you have a plan to buy a house in the near future, this is something that you could target. You can consider as a medium-term goal, 25 to 15 years. Buying a car, you know, foreign vacation, those people that want to travel with their family and all that. So all these are goals that you could also look at medium term. Then of course, long-term goals. Um, I believe we can see the slides, right? Just to confirm, is it visible enough?
Yes, we can see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. So yeah, long-term goals is between, of course, like I said earlier, more than 15 years. So someone can actually have a goal for marriage. You can plan ahead. You can have a goal for, planning yourself after you are no longer of course, in the working environment. If you say you are planning towards retirement, there are things you can set in place, now for that time. If it's more about your children, how you can provide quality education for your children, these are things that you have to start now. You don't have to wait until you start having the kids before you start making those plans. And that's where some people make the mistake. You have to always make your goals clear, precise, you know, and this is very, very important. Now, specifically talking about financial goals, understanding financial goals. Your financial goals are your personal goals with just financial costs attached to them. So it's the same way you set your own personal goals. If you want to say, okay, I want to ensure that this year I try to go to the gym twice a week, you know, that is the personal goal for you. Just the way you're having that, you can also say to yourself that this year I want to ensure that every month I um I save up at least $700 or $500 or $300. You know, that is also a financial goal that you can also attach to your own personal goals. So I'm solely focusing on financial goals because, of course, before you can even start talking about financial goals, you must have personal goals for yourself, because just the way you have your personal goals, you can also have financial goals. And you can have various financial goals at various stages of your life. Like I said, so many factors can change. You can decide that maybe you want to relocate tomorrow somewhere. That decision automatically changes the way you set your financial goals, because obviously you will now know that, of course, relocating somewhere means you have to get more money or more income to be able to make all the necessary arrangements that you require, you know. Or if you say, okay, you want to start up a business, for example, that decision alone can actually impact your financial goals. So it's important to also pay attention to this. And you need to also identify each of your financial goals and prioritize them. Which one is more important than the other? I'm not saying all is not important, but there are some that you can say you have to put in. You can look at it from a place of priority. It's very, very important, and you also have to ensure that you provide and save for each of your financial goals. You not just say, okay, I have financial goals to work on, but then you are not making any plan towards how you are going to achieve those goals financially you know. So, and one thing like most people actually um uh misunderstand is the fact that they confuse financial goals with financial wish. Like I said, A goal without a plan is a mere wish. So if you don't, if you say you have a goal and there's no, and I say, okay, what is the plan to achieve that goal? And you don't have a plan. You're just, it's just like wishful thinking, just like I wish I can do this thing, but I can't. So it's important that you don't confuse financial goals with financial wishes. They are not the same. They are not the same. They are not the same. And it's important to also pay attention to your financial plan. Financial planning. Financial planning is it's something that people don't talk about a lot because there was an there was an incident I had with someone I think a few years ago where he reached out to me and was like saying to me that yes, he needed some fund. And I was like, okay, what was the issue? And he mentioned to me that okay, the wife has just had a baby and he needed some funds to take care of the bill. So of course I did something by contributing to what he needed. But that got me thinking, because it got me thinking in such a way that I'm not trying to ridicule him, but I'm just trying to see it from a place of financial planning, because obviously you knew that your wife had a baby, it was pregnant, and you had a period of time to plan for that, you know. But you having now to wait until the last minute, to now start making calls here and there, trying to find funds to be able to settle that, it's not the best approach or the best thing to do. So that is just an example of what I mean when it comes to, you know, financial planning. You don't just put yourself in a situation where it becomes very difficult for you to come out of. Most people don't plan to fail. Nobody plans to fail. They just simply fail to plan because if you have a clear plan on what you want to achieve with your finances, there's always going to be a positive outcome. There's always going to be a positive, as long as you follow that plan to the latter, there's always going to be a positive outcome. So financial planning is a tool that you use to achieve financial success based on the development and implementation of your financial goals. So it's not just about the goals. That it's one thing to have the financial goals, but it's another thing to have the plan to execute that financial goal, because you have to know where you are going. It's just like you cannot just wake up one morning and say you want to travel. You see, for you to decide or make that decision that you want to travel, you must have a plan of, okay, where am I traveling to? What am I going to what am I going to do there? How am I going to get there? These are questions you must ask yourself first. Where am I going to buy? Which airline am I going to use? Where am I going to buy the ticket? These are questions you ask yourself before you get to that destination. There are several things you must have in place. you know. So it's very, very important that you just don't set goals, but you also have a plan. Have a plan. It's very, very, very important. A goal without a plan, like I said, is just a mere wish, you know. So how to prioritize your financial goals? Now, there is a psychological theory. I don't know how many people are familiar. Is anyone familiar with the Maslow hierarchy of needs? Do you know about this theory? Okay, I believe not. So, this theory is actually a theory that was set up by Maslow, and he was actually focusing on, how individuals are motivated based on their needs, you know, and it's like a need that is more in a hierarchy order. So it's more like needs that have to be satisfied in order of hierarchy, you know. And this theory actually shows that from this um situation, most individuals, they first of all want to be satisfied or meet their biological and physiological needs before um progressing towards safety needs and belongingness and love, esteem needs and self-actualization. So as you as just the way you see the pyramid is more of talking about how an individual actually has to satisfy his or her needs in order of hierarchy. you see. So it's always important to also pay attention to that, because before you like for us as individuals, our financial growth, building wealth is a process. It's not something that you can, because I see that there are a lot of people that tend to uh that tend to want to try to short circuit the process. There's a due process, and you cannot short circuit that process, because you know it's important that you can only achieve financial wealth through discipline, you know, through dedication and through hard work. It's important. If you notice people that you see that are very wealthy today, if you go and really study them and see what their life was like, you will see that there were so many striking things about them, unique things about them. They had to go outside their comfort zone to ensure that they, you know, they do some things that they wanted to do and achieve the results that they are achieving now. So it's important that you just don't, say you want to be wealthy, but you don't want to put in the effort. How often do you invest in financial knowledge? You know, wealth is proportional to value creation. It's not it's if you want to, you know, we are in an environment where you cannot just say you want to be wealthy without, you know, creating value. You have to be a person first, a person of value. When you start creating value, people see the value that you create, and then they are, of course, automatically attracted to that value. And for that value, they pay for it. They want to go the extra mile to see that they can actually get that value that you're offering. So it's important to understand that wealth creation is directly proportional to value creation. So, having said that, this is one of the process for setting your goals. Some of the process you can use to set your financial goals. First, you have to identify your goal. What goals that you want to achieve financially. And then, of course, you have to prioritize those goals, and then understand the financial cost associated with each of the goals that you are setting. Understand the financial cost, the implication of those goals, as well as set a timeline for each goal. There has to be a time frame, because if you want to achieve something and you don't have a time frame, how will you know if you are making progress or not? It's very, very important. Very, very important. Very, very important to pay attention to that as well. And you have to consider how much you can save each month, in terms of what are you, what is your target, for each month? Like, what do you want to achieve, in terms of um, your goals, you know. You have to consider how much you want to save each month. Talking a little bit about savings, savings is something that I keep uh, emphasizing overemphasizing on, because I've seen many people tend to ignore this a lot. Sometimes I get questions like, it's very, very difficult to save. Especially when you're in an economy that is very, very tough. How am I going um to manage? You know, how am I going to imagine, for example, if I'm in Nigeria, I'm earning just 100K every month. I'm a family man. I don't have I don't have the you say to yourself that I cannot, I don't even have, by the time I spend, let's say from your house to the place where you work, you spend a full amount of money on Uber every or both every day. If you sum up that money, say by the time you even sum up that money in a month, that is almost taking out how many percent of what I'm currently earning. So by the time I do this, I do that, where is the money to save? You know, that's why I keep saying I said two things. I said two things. The first thing is that you cannot solely depend on a 9 to 5 to survive. It's always very, very important that you don't. That is an average person, or that is the thinking of someone that is that I won't use the word a poor man's mindset, but it's more of a mindset of someone that just wants to just exist. You know, you cannot just survive on a 9 to 5. I keep saying it's not. It's not it's not the best approach. We're in an era now, in a world now where people are doing so many things, not just solely depending on a 9 to 5. And I've seen people that started as a 9 to 5 and didn't end as a 9 to 5. They started as a 9 to 5, created multiple streams of income, and then they ditched their 9 to 5. And because the monies that we're getting from the multiple streams of income was more than enough for them to do whatever they want to do, you know. So savings is very, very critical. It's very, very critical. You cannot, you can, I cannot overemphasize the importance of savings a lot because, you know, um, I have several materials, podcasts, also my YouTube channel. I always make reference to those. You can always go back and listen to some of the things I shared on, especially on savings. You know, savings is something that you cannot just ignore. And the only way to achieve all those things, like I keep asking people, do you have a saving goal? What is your goal for savings? What is your goal for savings? Just the way you have goal, you can say you have goals for your finances, but specifically, what's your goal for savings? What's your goal for investment? What's your goal for creating multiple streams of income? What are you doing towards that? What's your plan? You know, what's the most important thing I see, especially this happens a lot with mostly in Nigeria. Sometimes they just tend to make a plan in their head. They are not intentional about it. They don't write those things down. They just like, okay, this is what I want to do, but it's in my head. You can't plan that way. You can't plan that way because in that way you're putting yourself in a very challenging situation. You know, if you are someone that wants to be strategic about your finances, you have to have a budget. Budgeting is something you don't have to joke with. Let me just share something with you. I had a template that I okay, here we go. So can you see this? Can anyone see this? You can see it, right? Okay, great. So now budgeting is something that is very, very important. Because why I'm saying all this is because all these things are all involved, are all they are just connected. They are very, very connected because for you to have a financial goal, you have to have a financial plan. And for you to have a financial plan, this has to be part of your financial plan. You see? So it's just like you have a destination, but there are several tools you need to be able to get to that destination. Which budgeting is one of those. You see, it's very, very important. Like a budget doesn't have to be very complicated. That's what some people feel when they hear the word budget. They just start thinking, no, I don't even know how to design one. I don't even know how to. It doesn't have to be complicated. A budget just helps you see where your money is going to. It gives you a clear description of how you can be able to, you know, to channel your funds adequately. Because once you have a budget, it's like a budget goal. For each month, you know how much you are earning, the income that is coming in. Then you can start seeing what is going out. Because sometimes people end up, the truth is, like, for example, you spend money like maybe taking a taxi. You might be thinking those money are very tiny. Like maybe today, like maybe someone in Nigeria, you are going from the island to the mainland or from the mainland to the island, and you are spending maybe 1,500 on Uber. You might look at the money, it's just 1,500 now. It's very small. It doesn't really have so much impact. But the truth is, when you accrue that money in a month or you accrue it in a year, if you sum up that money, it it will be so shocking to you that you yourself you start wondering, how do I spend this kind of money on transportation in a year? You see, that's just one aspect. Or maybe it's someone that always don't like to prepare things at home. You want to go out to eat every time there's this new latest restaurant. That's where I'm heading. There's this there's this there's this latest restaurant that's on Vogue. That's where I'm going. If you're doing that, the next thing is that you keep spending money out, eating out, it will keep accruing. Before you know what's happening, the money you spend on you start asking yourself, how come my money just went so fast? But there are some things that you might look at them as very small expense. They are very, very small expense. But those things, if you don't take care of those small, small expense, if you don't look at those things critically, those are the expense that can even cause like a very strong dent to your financial budget. It's very, very important to pay attention to this. So I just wanted to share this template for you to have an idea of how a budget should look like. I know most of us we hear about budgeting, but some of us might not be familiar with how it should look like. Um, but of course, like I said, a budget should is the purpose of a budget is just to help you know where your funds are going to and what incomes are coming, as well as where you can save more. You know, once you have a budget, you can easily see, okay, maybe I'm spending too much here, I have to cut it down and put the money into my savings, or I'm spending too much here, I have to reduce it, or I think I can increase this one a bit. When you have this kind of structure, it helps you. You can easily see how you can manage your money. So you have your income section of the budget, you have your fixed expense, which are things that of course you can most times you cannot even touch because those ones are fixed. Like maybe your house rent, your um I would say depends, your bills, the bills that you pay on your let's say what kind of bills, like electricity bills or water bills, utilities, let's just put it that way. You know, those things we know we can't touch those ones because they're a bit fixed. You don't have so much control on those ones. But however, there are other variable expenses that are not just the way you have big fixed expense, you have variable expenses. Those ones it varies depending on you have a bit of control on those ones. So uh, you can always pay attention to that aspect again. You can also um pay close attention to that aspect. Other expenses fall under that category, things that you can easily control. But at the end of the day, the purpose you could see, if you see this part, the purpose is to ensure that you know how much you earned for that month, you know how much you have spent for that month. You know, you can put a goal. You could see this part, you put a goal here to say, okay, this is my goal. Maybe in the or in terms of my income, this is what I want to get this month. This is my target. This is what I want to receive this month. You know, and then you can then indicate what the actual amount was at the end of the month. And then you have a difference. Either you have a positive difference or a negative difference, depending if you actually exceeded your goal or you didn't hit the goal. So it depends. And then of course you have to look at the total amount that was spent based on your expenses. And then of course, if there was any loan you took or there's anything you borrowed, you have to also indicate it here. And then of course, savings. How much how much were you able to save? I keep telling people about savings. You have to ensure that you have to adopt the 50-20-30 rule, you know, 50-30-20 rule. I don't know how many people are familiar with that, but that's more of um okay, I see a hand there. Okay, you have a question.
Hi, good evening. I was trying to call your attention to the fact that we
Oh,
need
sorry.
payments like this.
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead. I can hear you. If you want to ask a question or you were actually trying to get my attention.
Yes, I was trying to get your attention to the chart box. So we couldn't see the budget slide, which I think would have been very helpful for us.
Okay, you couldn't see the budget template.
Slide, yes,
Oh,
template rather.
oh, so sorry. I thought, uh, okay, I'm sharing it now. I've just been talking and talking. I'm so sorry. Can you see it now?
Yes, please, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. So I was talking about a monthly budget planner that you should have. So I was like saying that you should have a section for income, fixed expense, and other expenses, and of course your bills. Like I said, your budget doesn't need to necessarily be so complicated. Like most people, when they hear budget, they are just like, it has to be something I cannot do, But no, it gives you a clarity of what it helps you a lot to see where your money is coming from, where your money is going to, and where you can save up some more, where you can reduce some more, you know. So this is just a summary of how it should look like. Um, your other expense, the bills that you pay, your fixed expense, your income, what you get, what's your goal, your total amount for the month, what do you want to achieve, you know. At the end of the day, you have a recap where you get to see, okay, this is my goal for everything. What was the actual result? Did I hit my target? Um did I exceed my target? You know, and what's the difference? You see. So this is just like um a bit of summary as to how your budget should look like, as to how your budget should look like. Is this clear enough? Is there any question on this? Okay. Okay, so moving on. Like I said, your financial goals um has to be smart. So what does that mean? When it comes to your finances, you have to state exactly what needs to be done with the money that you have, You have to ensure that you know exactly what you want to use the monies that you have for, you know, the monies that are coming. You have to ensure that you know those. What's the target? What's the plan for that money? And of course, it has to be measurable. You have to write the exact amount, you know, the goal is for, you know. If you say you want to save up some amount of money to be able to maybe buy a house, or to be able to invest in some sort of property, or in a particular stock, for example, it's now then you have to start determining what exactly that property is going to be, and how much is going to cost you to get that particular property. So these are things that you have to include when it comes to your financial goals. Then of course, your financial goals has to be attainable. You know, you have to determine how it can be reached. You know, Oftentimes, like I said, it's determined by by a budget, like I just showed you. You know, the only one of the tools that you can use to get to that level, to get to that, to hit that target or hit that goal is through by setting a budget for yourself. And of course, it has to be realistic. You know, Goals are important, but you don't just set goals just for the sake of it. You know, Set goals that are realistic, and goals that that are attainable to reach. Don't go and set goals that are out of your reach, and you start hoping and praying that you meet that target. No, of course, it's important to have to be intentional about it, but at the same time, um, don't just set goals that you yourself that you cannot meet those goals. You have to be realistic. Tell yourself the honest truth. Just make sure that you. Just a second, trying to. You have to tell yourself the honest truth, you know, that this is what you want to achieve, you know. And of course, it has to be time bound. You have to give a time frame to your goals, your financial goals. Within which period of time do you want to achieve this? Within what period of time would you want to achieve this? It's very, very, very important, you know. So of course, like I said earlier in the course of the presentation, there are several other factors that could change your goals depending, because of course this is the beginning of the year. You have goals that you've already set, and and uh the the truth is there are several other conditions that could actually um impact those goals depending on what kind of conditions. Like for example, marriage can impact your goals, you know, maybe as a result of um, a loss of employment or something. Those can impact your goals. A change of job can impact your goals. A change of location can impact your goals. So goals are actually customized and streamlined to individuals. So my goals cannot be your goals. It has to be specific to you, personal to you. You know, you can have your own goals, but that does not mean that it has to be in line with my own goals. So it's something that you just have to ensure that, because everybody has a journey, as time comes on, you might decide that this is what I want to do, that is what I want to do. But regardless of whatever you want to do, it's important um to ensure that your goals are actually in line with those things. You know, your goals are actually in line with those things. You have to also keep track of those. It's very, very important. Like I said, you see, it's more of, there are so many things, like still talking about factors, so many things that can impact your goals, decision making, your needs, your time, family, culture, your wants, age, so many things. So like I said, it's more of identifying what is more personal to you, and also taking an analytical approach in order to ensure that you are meeting those goals, you know. Um, so care to be taken while setting your financial goals. You have to ask yourself the question, is your goal important? You know, is your goal important? Is your goal, is it a goal or a wish? Like I said earlier, is it a goal or a wish? Money you need to accomplish your goal. You have to ask yourself that question. The money that you require to accomplish your goal, is it available? Do you have a clear plan on how those monies are going to, to, to come across to you? you know. And then, of course, you have adequate resources to finance your goals on time, you know, very, very important. And are you misjudging your timeline? So these are important questions you should be asking yourself, of course, when setting your financial goals, very, very important. So this is just like a summary of financial goals and goal setting and how important it is for your finances. So I don't know, is there any question? Is this clear enough? Is there any feedback or any comments or anything you would like to share on goals that you want me to? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so having said that, I will also be talking a little bit more about investment. I think this is just 8:06, so we still have a bit more time. So when it comes to, like, I know I spoke a little bit on savings. Um, but talking about investment, it's very critical that um we always pay attention to always investing. And that would also take me towards um, how to create multiple streams of income, because I know from the poll that I shared, these were the top three areas that people wanted to really focus on this year 2024 was more on savings, investment, and as well as creating multiple streams of income. Of course, I've talked about a bit of savings, um, and why it's important to save. And if you're someone that is really looking forward to save aggressively this year, I told you I have if you go on my it's either you go on Spotify, or if you go on my website, the FinTacts Academy .com. I can just share that with you shortly before I proceed there. So if you go on my website, the FinTactsAcademy.com, here you will find um, several materials that I have done, cutting across several subjects. Can you see the screen? Just want to be sure.
Yes, I see the screen.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, so there are several subjects, that I there are several subjects here you'll find here on the website, with several topics that are talked about, especially in the areas of savings. Um, if you go on the website, or you can easily go on Spotify, you would see some of these materials that you can listen to. Very, very important. And I had a deep dive into why it's important to save, what some of the strategies you can adopt. Also, I also talked about, for those who wanted to save aggressively, I talked about some of the techniques that you could adopt, that you could use, that will be very, very helpful for savings. So, here on the area of investment, like I said, investment is something that is very, very important. But at the same time, investment comes with financial knowledge. You see, you cannot just start investing in something that you are not aware of. Very, very, very important. If there's anything today I'm talking about investment that you shouldn't, like, you should take seriously, this should be it. Because I've seen so many people lose their money because of this. If you don't have financial knowledge about something and you just put your money there, that's one of the wrongest things to do. Because I keep asking people three simple questions when it comes to the area of investment. Why do you want to invest? That's the first question. Why are you investing? Because the truth is, um, um, if you don't have financial knowledge about something, it's just like you are just putting your money into. It's like you're pouring water into filter, expecting the water to remain in the filter. You see, that's what it is. That is just the truth, because um I see some people, for example, they buy stock, and I ask them a question. This stock, why are you buying it? This particular stock, why are you buying it? Some of them will just tell me that, I just buy it because I think that's what is trending. You don't buy things because it's trending. Some of them will tell me, I just buy it because I feel it has the potential to increase. You don't invest by emotions. Because if you are doing all those things by emotions, you are just putting your money, you are just jeopardizing your funds. Investment is not done by emotions. I see, a situation where people are trying to buy um stocks, and then I ask them, okay, these stocks that you're buying, are you buying it to invest or you are buying it to trade? These are two different things. You can buy a stock and you say you want to invest it for the future. You can buy a stock and say you want to use it to trade. You want to hold short. There's what we call hold short when it comes to investment. When you are trading, you hold short. Now, I use the scenario of trading and investment. I use this funny scenario, when I'm looking at both of them. When you are buying something to invest, it means that it's going to be for the long term, right? It's going to be for the long term. You know that once you are investing in this thing, you are putting it there, just leave it there for the long term. I see that as when it comes to the area of marriage, you know. Why trading is more of when you are dating somebody. That's how I look at it. Because when you are buying something to trade, you know that you are holding it short. So when the thing appreciates in the share price, for example, goes up, you are cashing out, you are selling it off, you know. Whereas with trading, anything can you just like it's just like I say, if you are dating somebody, you are trying to get to know the person, but still you don't know if it will work or it not work. It's just something that you are focusing on. But when you are married, you are getting married, just don't get married to anybody. You have to be able to ensure that you know the person in and out. You have a plan to even see the person's family. You have to know who the person is. You have to ask questions about the person. You see, you have to ensure that you are sure about the values that the person have to see if those values are in line with your own values, right? So I liken that to investment. Investment is not something you can just put your money without knowledge, without any financial knowledge, because if you do that, you'll be setting up your finances for failure. You know, that is very, very important to pay attention to. Very, very important. You know, you see the wealthy people today, people that do all these things, it's always, I keep saying that um financial knowledge is a summary of everything. Once you have the right financial knowledge, and that's what I try to do with people. I try to make sure that um I am impacting knowledge that produces confidence, you know, in making the right financial decisions for themselves. Very, very important, because you cannot just say you want to um do something without without accurate financial knowledge, because you know knowledge is power. Once you know something, there's a certain confidence you have when you know something. That is just the truth. Once you know that this thing is this thing, there's nothing somebody can tell you, as long as you have that confidence that this thing actually, I know it, not because I know it, but I know it from experience. There are two different things. You can know something, but you don't know it from experience. You know, of course, like for example, if you go to school, in the university, you get a lot of knowledge, but that is knowledge from the classroom. There's a knowledge that comes with experience, and that is the one that is done in the professional environment. You see, so it's important that when it comes to the area of investing, you don't invest out of emotions. You don't invest out of emotions. I know that we are in a world of several opportunities today. There are so many things that you can invest in. You know, especially like it could also form a very vital part of your financial goal this year. You know, I was looking recently. I was looking at the Nigerian market because I'm not so familiar um with the NSC, as in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. But I could see some things that made me marvel. Even in an economy as Nigeria, that things are very blessed at the moment. When you see things, the hyperinflation in the economy, you know, the devaluation of the naira, how things are fluctuating here and there. It will still amaze you to see that there are some penny stocks that are doing quite well. Now, what some people might want to ask, what are penny stocks? So these are stocks are um that are listed in the Nigerian Stock Exchange that are below 5 naira. Those are penny stocks. So you see, there is one way for you to be able to make money as well, but you have to have the knowledge. Now, the truth is, I'll be organizing a special webinar focusing mainly on investment, and there's a friend of mine who is an expert in this area, and he has a better knowledge of the Nigerian stock exchange. The Nigerian stock exchange, he has a lot of experience there. He has been dealing on this for quite some time. So I'll be having a special webinar, which I will communicate to you in due course, where he will be sharing some of the strategies that you could use. But the first thing is um owning a stock in Nigeria is also very vital. There are several shares you can buy. You don't necessarily have to. That's one thing most people don't really get. Um, they think for you to be able to invest, you need to have a huge sum of money. That is the mistake some people make. No, it's not. That is not true. You don't need the millions to be able to invest. You have to start from somewhere. There has to be a starting. There has to be an intentionality about your investment goals. That's how you can be able to make that progress that you want to make, financially. Let me show you something. Yeah. Can you see my screen? Okay.
I
Thank you.
can see it.
Now, if you see, these are some of the most actively traded Nigerian stocks in the NSE at the moment. This was the data that I put up just a few days ago, and I was looking at the share price, and also the 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 performance of these shares in the couple of um last couple of years. You see. So if you go to the performance, if you see here, I don't know if it's clear enough. It might be a little bit small, but um this this you see that um there are some percentage that are in green, and there are some that are in red. So these are these are different stock that are listed in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So you have Guarantee Trust Bank holding Nestle, Zenith Bank, Transcorp, FCMB, several of them, Wema Bank, Japa Gold, you know, um, so many of them are listed. Now, if you look at, there's this particular one that got my attention. It's a penny stock actually. Um, I think it was Ikeja Hotel. Yeah, Ikeja Hotel PLC. It's a penny stock. It used to be when I saw the first time I saw this, it used to be somewhere around I think it was Either it's between 0.50 to 1.50 naira. That is 1 naira 50 kobo. You see, that was the price. But if you look at the progression in the last 1 year, you will see that it has appreciated over 657.58% in the last 1 year. And then you have in the last 5 years, it was 400%. In the last I think the all-time high has been 380. It's even far more than most of 380%. It's far more than most of the normal stocks that people buy, like the GT stocks and all that. Now, this is a penny stock that was selling for less than, I think it was around 50 kobo. You see, but over the years, the consistency has been very, very mind-blowing. Now, this is just one of the several that you will see. It takes you much to buy a share in a company or it doesn't take you much. Like you can see now, if you are seeing this, like this is like the price per share, you can just acquire some of those, you know. The process, I don't think the process, from what I was discussing with my friend, I don't think the process is that, especially for those that are in Nigeria, I don't think the process is that strenuous. Even on the GT app, I believe you can request, because I was trying to check on Gitco. I think the Gitco app doesn't, like the investment section for me doesn't work at the moment. But I believe you can purchase some of these shares from the bank. You see, you know. Instead of you to invest your money generally in mutual funds. Of course, I'm not saying mutual funds are not great. Those are also nice. But you know, you having to invest your money directly with, like, buying the shares and having ownership, it gives you what at the end of the day? What is the outcome? You get dividends based on the performance of the company, right? So those dividends generates you cash flow. That is a way to get that is the way for you to get income. You see. It's also a part of like getting funds rather than just depending on your on your 9 to 5. You can just put in shares there, buy your shares, buy as much as you can. But it's based off, like I said, you have to understand the market. You just don't put your money in anything. Like for example, it's one of my financial goals this year to invest a lot in the Nigerian stock exchange. Because I've been seeing several things, especially in the entertainment industry. If you look at it, there was this movie that just, I believe most of you must have been hearing about it. There's a movie that was done by Funke Akindele, I think A Tribe Called Judah, that made a record sale of about 1.5 billion naira. That alone does a lot to the Nollywood market, and that increases the value of the Nollywood shares. So imagine people that have gotten the shares, that have gotten the Nollywood shares, let's say a year ago, at a certain price. Do you know what that does to the value of their what that does to the dividends that they get? You think about it to a certain degree. That is very, very important. So having said that, you know, you can only know all these things when you make research and you ask the right questions. Because if you are someone that just maybe sit there and just expect that, okay, the opportunities will come to you, that is not how it works. You know, that's not how it works. You have to ensure that you know, you take ownership of it. You have to be intentional. You have to ensure that you are the one making those moves. You see, very, very, very important. Yeah, you have a question.
Hi, Gabriel. So
Yeah.
my question is, investing in the Nigerian stock exchange market, isn't it extremely risky right now, considering how the naira is being devalued at an exponential rate daily? So I would think that if you say invest 1 million naira today in the Nigerian stock exchange, even if it becomes 2 million naira by next year, okay, essentially you could most likely have lost money. And this is just my thought. That's why it's a question. So please correct me if I'm wrong. You could have lost money because the value in terms of the global scale of things of that 2 million no longer matches to the 1 million at the time you invested it. You see? So
Exactly.
this is where it becomes very tricky for people to even consider investing, especially people abroad. And this is
Exactly.
also why right now a lot of people are converting their naira just to USD, and it's okay for them. You see? Um, so how do you think that people can hedge against this risk?
Yeah. So yeah, you're right, because to a certain degree, like this information now, I'm actually looking at it from a place of those that are in Nigeria that are currently earning in the naira, you see. Because if you look at it, the 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 current market, like you said, there are several market conditions, because if you look at how over the years, especially after the COVID era, because prior to the COVID era, there were a lot of shares that were actually doing fine. Now, when the whole COVID era, the COVID era kind of passed, we saw that to a certain degree, there were some shares that were still performing quite well, but at the same time, the the value of that share was not as high as it used to be, but they were still performing quite well. However, this this kind of information, I don't think it will be, of course, like you said, it will not be very beneficial to those that are um that are in the diaspora, because obviously you can, when you see how current market is when it comes to the value of the naira, you might start getting, if you want to peg it, you might start running at a loss to a certain degree, you know. Or the people that are currently in Nigeria are the ones that could take advantage of this to a certain degree. But like at the same time, you have to also understand that it's not all the shares, because shares, like I said, I keep saying it at the I keep saying it now and then. It has to also determine, it has to be based off what is your reasoning for the investment. Are you actually buying it to sell short, or you are buying it to hold on, you know? Because the hold strategy for me, I think, is the best strategy when it comes to things like this, especially, of course, when we know that you might, if you are someone that you want to, you are actually investing because you want to get a return, ASAP, like in the next 6 months or in the next 3 months, then I will not recommend such kind of thing, because I would actually feel like, considering the way the Nigerian system is now, the Nigerian market is, buying and trading in almost immediately might not work, you know. But if you are someone that wants to buy and hold, then in the long run, considering the fact that you've seen the projection of how the some of these shares have performed in the last couple of years, you know, they could also be a positive outcome in, let's say, in the next maybe 3 or 5 years. I don't know if it's clear. Does that do justice to? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, so um um yeah, so uh that is just what I think when it comes to the area of um of shares, buying of shares. But like I said, I'll be like bringing on someone who really understands better this market, the NSC, because he has been trading there. He has been also, is a broker that actually has been in this market. He has more experience when it comes to dealing in this market. So I think he will be also in the best position to give more clarity on this area. So yeah, so it's important to also pay attention to the fact that um, just the way we have shares, there are several other opportunities that you could also tend to invest in. I mean, for people in diaspora precisely, there are other several opportunities like when it comes to investment. Like for some of the things I see, like because the brokers there's this brokers account I had created for me to be able to gain access to several shares in the market that are listed. Um, um, so I there's investment platform you can recommend. Like for me, I deal with eToro. Um, eToro is the one I use. I know some people do use Binance, but for me, of course I use Binance as well, but I focus more on eToro because eToro for me is more user friendly. So but to set up eToro, it has to require um a great deal of because I think before you can set up a broker's account with eToro. So what that does is just the way you have your normal bank account, the way you set up your normal bank account, you go to the bank and um, set up a bank account. That gives you access to your funds, right? So the broker's account, what that does is more of you are setting up a broker's account, but that gives you access to buy shares or buy stocks, or if you want to trade stocks or commodities, like maybe commodities like oil or gold and stuff like that. But for the broker's account, it also requires a great degree of understanding because for you to set up one, they have to ask you quite a number, and it takes about 15 minutes. It's free, of course, but you have to provide, they have to ask some questions, while you're setting up this account. So what that does is when you set up the broker's account, like for example, this eToro, show you, or eToro is eToro is just yeah, you set it up, but it means that it gives you access to several stocks, you know. It gives you so much access to several stocks. But also, like I said, when you're setting it up, it's it requires you to it takes about around 15 minutes, I believe. And it requires you to be able to get uh, to answer some questions with respect to your investment knowledge. So because it depends on you don't just have access to all the kind of it's not all the kind of investments that you can perform. It depends on your level of knowledge as well as how exposed you are to the investment market. So they ask some few questions that could now make them know which kind of stock or which kind of financial instrument they give you access to. So that's how eToro works. Um, and then of course, once your account is created, you have to have there has to be a verification. They have to verify you as well as once that is done and you are verified and confirmed, you can then start investing or trading if you want. But then it has to also do with funding your account because you have to be able for you to be able to make those kind of or buy those kind of shares or stocks, you have to be able to fund your account on eToro. So I use eToro at the moment to to um to make my investments. Binance is also good. I use that. I use that Pyro. I've used that before. Especially when it had to do with more of cryptocurrencies, but the cryptocurrency market these days are very, very interesting. I don't really recommend because of the high volatility that it has. And considering the fact that even though um, we can see that there was a dip in, for example, in one of the like in the Bitcoin, but now it's gradually gaining ground a little bit, but still I still feel like due to the high volatility of the cryptocurrencies, it might not be it depends on your risk appetite anyways, but it's just more of, obviously things like that, the more the risk, uh, uh, the more you involve yourself in that, the more risk uh, you're exposed to. And if you are someone that really um, risk averse, you don't like risk, you don't like taking risk, might not be the best direction to follow. Um, Also, I think you could also take advantage of crowdfunding. I keep saying that a lot. There's a platform called Lending Hand that I always share. Um, yeah, this is the platform. It's Lending Hand. So what this platform does basically is it's crowdfunding. I mean, I know some of you might be familiar with this already. So you have several projects that people do request funding for. Like if you see here, you do have, for example, you do have this particular project. This person is in Tonga, and he needs to be able to expand their assortment of handcrafted mats and tapa cloths. So they do handcrafted mats, but they want to expand. So um, the total amount they are looking for is about 58,170 euros. And then, of course, this is the interest on the amount, and this is the maturity. And then their repayment is going to be in 6 months. And so for you, if you are, depending on how much you are investing in this project, like you see that the crowdfunding now has so many investors. So once the project is fully funded, they close up this project and then the person gets the fund. And then within this period of time, the money is sent back to you with your principal amount as in addition to the interest, that is the return on your principal amount. So there are several projects. Some of them have more high interest rate, but some of them with the high interest rate sometimes has more a longer maturity date than some. Like this one is 24 months, that's 2 years. And you get the interest rate for the 2 years of 5.75. I would still say this one is better off than putting your money, you're just leaving your money in the bank. I will not say it's the of course the best interest rate to see, but um you are getting something on your money rather than having it stay on the bank, you see. So this is also something that I can recommend, that is also great. Is that clear? Thank you very much. um well, I'll also send um I'll send the link. You can reach out to me. I can send you some of these links so you can also pay attention to those, and you can search for that. So I believe we are gradually running out of time. So let me just quickly use the remaining 15 minutes to share a bit on um multiple streams of income. I hope I can be able to exhaust that. So like I know for multiple streams of income, it's really or is also geared towards um your the value that you carry. Like I keep saying that 9 to 5, I keep telling you 9 to 5 is not it's not always the best thing to focus on. I can use myself for an example. When I started my 9 to 5, of course I'm still doing 9 to 5, but at the same time, I knew that just having a 9 to 5, it's not the um best approach for me, because of course we as individuals, we have responsibilities. We have things that we have people that look up to us personally, and we have people that um always want to ensure that um we look after them. Um, so it's if you are just solely focused on with all your financial commitments and your financial responsibilities, if all those responsibilities are all geared towards your 9 to 5, there is a high tendency that you end up in a situation that you shouldn't be in, and that's why you see that at the end of the day, so many people tend to um try to find other means of getting themselves out of that kind of situation. You know, Borrowing is not the best way to get yourself out of 9 to 5. That will not work. You know, don't put yourself in debt just because you want to try to, get yourself um, out of um, a situation where you just don't want to solely depend on your 9 to 5. You see, like the first thing is you have to identify is your location, wherever you are. You have to understand that you need to understand the environment and see what are the needs that environment require. It has to do with value creation. There's what we call passive income, and there's what we call side hustle. There are two different things. A side hustle is something you do that um you can get money from, as a result of extra effort. You put in extra effort into, maybe for example, like for me, there was a time, obviously I have my 9 to 5 and I have a car. So I was like, okay, I have a car. What can I do with my car? Okay, I saw that there was a kind of um application where you have it's just like the way you have your Uber, your boat, but this time around it's in the opposite direction, where you now have to have um uh like a food delivery chain, where you have to take up food from a restaurant and you give it to someone. So I saw that, of course I have a car. I can use that as a medium for a side hustle. So I can do that within my 3 hours. When I know that I am free during the weekends, I can take my car and get some extra money during the weekends and make um some sort of side income by the side. I started doing that for a while, and then I discovered something. Obviously, I required a business license now to get to deliver. So that business license kind of opened an opportunity for passive income. So what that means was, after I got to start delivering, I got the license. The next thing was, I didn't even necessarily have to even start delivering anymore, because under my account, I can now register like 5 or 6 other drivers. So those drivers will now be the one doing the job, and then I get a commission for every delivery that they do. So you see what happens there. As a result of, I started my passive income, side hustle rather. I started by my side hustle, but then after a while, it changed from being a side hustle to passive income, in the sense that now I don't necessarily have to be there if I don't want to, but I know that I can monitor my account and see that every delivery that is done, I get a commission. You see. So what I'm trying to say here is that there's a passive income, there's a side hustle, but passive income is more of, you don't necessarily have to put in so much effort into it, but the money just comes. An example of a passive income is rental income. You see, if you have to invest in a property, for example, that property is going to be given out for rent, right? The monies that comes as a result of the rent that, excuse me, the rent that is the person that is paying off the paying paying the rent. You get the money from there. That's for you a rental income. And that's a means of generating passive income for yourself. You don't necessarily have to be there to be managing the property. You can invest in the property and then it can be managed by a property manager that can generate you passive income. That is just one side of things. So, but let me just share quickly the slide I had prepared. I'll just run through quickly. Can you see the slides, please? Is it
Not yet. Yeah, can see that now.
Thank you very much. So, of course, some of these areas, like I said, building wealth has to do with generating multiple streams of income, and generating multiple streams of income doesn't have to start like you don't get everything in one day. It's a process, right? Yeah, like I said, it's important to understand that you have to be a person of value. You know, um, if you're in an environment that you know that you want to create other streams of income, you have to think of ways that you can create those other streams of income because they are we are in a world today that there are several opportunities. It's just as a result of actually taking advantage of those opportunities to create um, to create uh, uh, some sort of streams of income for yourself. So you have to identify what is the need of that environment. What are people in need of? What are the things that you think you have that you can give, you know? What are the ways you can monetize? Let me just put it the way, more or less monetizing your ideas. You have ideas, everyone has ideas. It's just to um try and see how you can monetize those ideas, you know. And that's where multiple streams of income kicks in. I know in Nigeria, for example, there are people who do a 9 to 5, but at the same time, of course, they know that the 9 to 5 will not be sustainable. So what that means is if you are someone that doesn't have other multiple streams of income, if you lose your job, for example, I'm not praying for that to happen, but if that happens peradventure, what do you do? That's the question. What do you do? It's not like in some other parts of the world, for example, like where like in Luxembourg, for example, you have okay for a certain period of time that the government has made available an unemployment benefit for you while you actually in search of another job. So in that case, you are a bit covered for a period of time. And I know it also appeals to also years to be in some other parts of the world as well, like a more advanced environment. But in a place like Nigeria, for example, where we don't have a provision for such kind of thing, um, or even if there's a provision, it's very rare, you know. So in the kind of situation, if you are just focusing more on your 9 to 5, what you get from that, when there is a crisis there, how do you deal um with that if you don't have other streams of income? You know, so the goal is actually to build your income, get multiple streams of income, and get to a place where you don't really necessarily require your 9 to 5 anymore. That is how you should be thinking about it, you know, because obviously when you get to a level where you actually now making the monies that are more than what you are earning from your 9 to 5, you wouldn't see any reason why you want to remain with your 9 to 5, right? So it's important to take note of all this. as well. So I've just prepared a very short slide here, you know. So working for the same company for 30 years and living off a company's pension and social security in retirement is the old way of life. The new way of life is more of having multiple streams of income to, increase your wealth and your lifestyle. So I will just share with you briefly some few things I consider I think could be key information I believe could be beneficial to you for creating other streams of income. But before you do that, you have to understand that you cannot just leave your job, you know. Um, you don't leave your job until you are receiving enough income for you to, create multiple streams to replace your current employer's income or whatever you're earning. So you cannot say, okay, I want to create a multiple streams of income, but because of that, I'm tired of this job, I'm quitting it. No, it's like you are. It's just like you don't have a plan for something, and then you are leaving the one that you already have, like that is already guaranteed to a certain degree. So it's very important um to pay close attention to that. Ensure to always make sure that before you even start thinking about building your streams of income, make sure that you already have something concrete. You already have a plan on how you have to live without your 9 to 5 before you even make that decision. Very, very important. You know, um, this is one way you can also create multiple streams of income. You can obtain a domain name. Like I know so many people, maybe their passion can be web design. If you are someone that knows how to design stuff, um, you can just obtain a domain name on this website, and then of course you can gain access to WordPress and just design something, you know, based on your passion. We are in a world today that there are several things are going digital. There are so many knowledge people want to get access to. So if you are someone that is passionate about something, you can just think about how can I bring that thing that I'm passionate about into the social media space, and monetize it. It's very, very important. You can look at these areas as well. And these websites, you can have a look, and I believe they are very helpful. I've gone through some of them, and I see that they are very, very, very helpful. But I'll be sharing with you the slides by email. I believe for those who registered, um, you should be able to get access. I should be able to get access to your email address. I'll be forwarding the slides to you after the webinar, that you can also make reference to that as well. Um, there's also you can also become an Amazon affiliate. This is one thing. This one, when I looked at it, it was very, very interesting. So it's something that you can just do. Is you just sign up as an Amazon affiliate. This allows you to add links of Amazon products on your website, and if someone just clicks on it, and buys something, for everything that the person buys, you get a percentage. So that's one thing that is also very important. So if you are someone that knows how to design and you have a lot, you have something that has to do with WordPress, you can be able to you can be able to develop a website for yourself, and then with that website you can use that to sign up for Amazon affiliate, and then for every product, you know you can market those products on your website. For every of these items, you get a commission. That's another way you can look at taking advantage of the market. You know, and like I said earlier, you have to invent something as well. You can invent a product. Everyone has great ideas. It's just about looking into thinking about what is the needs that my environment actually requires. There are so many um, um, people who have invented something, and then of course it's like a patent because it becomes their item. So it's a license, their own license, so they can collect royalties on those items if they are sold. You get something on that. You get to invent something that is very, we have creative minds, and it's more of just trying to see how you can take advantage of your environment. Look at the needs that your environment requires, and try to do something that that you can monetize, and get um, an income for yourself. Also very, very important. And if you're someone that likes writing, you can also take advantage of writing books, telling stories, you know, um, and you can make money from that while you're even asleep. If you have those things, you can sign up to Amazon, you know, and then market those in there. And other options can be uh, Smartwatch, and then Nook Press. Um, yeah, but I think Amazon will be the best one that I would imagine that you can use, because Amazon, a lot of people are more familiar with Amazon, you know, for all these kind of things. And of course, selling of products, you know, um, commissions. You can also something like sometimes, especially if you look at it from a Nigerian perspective, sometimes we have to make the move. If we don't make the move, people don't move. So it's more of, if you know something that you have something that you can market, you have something that you can sell, you have an idea you can sell. It's important to look for those people that that can convert those ideas into monetary value for you, and then reach out to those people. It's very, very important, because I know sometimes people are blessed with so much ideas, or just because they hesitate, they don't tend to take advantage of those ideas. It becomes a different ball game entirely. So you having to, once you have an idea, like I know in different countries there are people, there are several structures. Like for example, here we have the House of Entrepreneurship that deals with monetizing your idea, helping you to groom your idea, not just grooming it, but give you the funds that you require to turn that idea into reality. you know so it's important to also take advantage of those things. You just don't, in as much that you are in a place where you are actually getting some streams of income, you also have to actually look at the areas that you think you can actually take advantage of for yourself, like making sure that of course you meet with the right persons that can convert those ideas into monetary value, because it's value. It's something that it's like an asset to you, you know, and it's important to um to take uh cognizance of that as well, you know. And of course, now no, it's no news that we are in a social media space that almost everything is done on social media, you know. So you can actually use social media to your advantage, you know. There are so many things happening there, you know, Twitter, Instagram, you know. But how do you use social media to your advantage? It's by being creative, and just trying to ensure that you you put out things that people can be able to relate with. At the same time, you can monetize them. You know, you see people that are into blogging today, they didn't just start overnight. You see, they started from somewhere, and now you see their pages. If you go on Instagram, you see so many of them that are using this as a medium to advertise a lot of content, advertise products, advertise a lot, you know. Creating such kind of uh, accounts can give you access you know, to an audience that you can build and promote your business. It's very, very important. You can also take advantage of Twitter. You go on LinkedIn. If you have, I know that in Nigeria, most people are not so keen on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is also a very nice platform for you to market your skills. It's very, very important, because that's a global space that people can really see what you do professionally, as well as what you can offer. So if you are someone that is not so much of a social media person, we are in a world and era now that if you want to make money, you have to be you have to You have to be global. You have to go on the global space. You have to think global. You have to change those thoughts that can limit you from being the best that you have to be. You see, so it's important to always pay attention about the level of opportunities you can create, with social media. Many people are on social media. Some of them are using social media to their disadvantage, but you can actually use that to an advantage. If you're on social media and you're not making money, making money from it, sometimes you feel, it's something else. The feeling is something else. So if you are getting on social media, you should start thinking about it from a place of, okay, what can I do to generate money from this? You can, if you are someone that is passionate about something, you can go on YouTube and share your passion. You don't know who you will be giving more value to, with what you are saying. You know, if it's something that if you are skilled at something, you can transmit that on YouTube, and then you get to a stage you can actually start monetizing what you have on YouTube. You see, so it's very important to pay attention to those parts as well. You also have podcasts. You can start a podcast if you are someone that likes talking about several things. Like for me, for example, I'm that kind of person that I um I listen to podcasts, and I like talking about finance because that is my passion. That is what I enjoy. You see, so you have to identify what you actually enjoy, what is more what you are happy doing. You know it, it's very important to pay attention to that. There are so many people that have used the podcast structure to be able to generate income for themselves. Like this guy that I just indicated, John Lee Dumas. I listen to his podcast quite often. He has a very beautiful program, and yeah, it's amazing to see that he earns around $100,000 every month just by that. But of course, it didn't start in one day. It was over a period of time. So the most important thing is to start. You can monetize it. You can monetize your knowledge. You can monetize your knowledge. There's nobody that God created idle. There's nobody that was born idle. God has blessed everyone with special gifts. So it's more about identifying those things and using those things to bless and create value, in your environment. It's very, very, very important. you know. And I remember talking about rental income. You know, you are someone that wants to talk about, you want to invest. There's um especially for example in a country as Nigeria right now, um um for people in the diaspora, this could, as much that the country now, the currency is in a very interesting state. People in diaspora, this is now even the opportunity for them to be able to do things that their money cannot do for them 2 or 3 years back. You know, if before now you were thinking about getting a property, but you think that, okay, because of the value of the property, I cannot be able to afford. What about now? What can you do about that now? You see, what kind of opportunities can you take advantage of right now in the real estate market? You see, because for example, people who bought properties or landed properties around the Dangote refinery in Lagos few years back, the value of those properties now will be crazy because obviously the refinery has been opened, and that is creating what does that create? It creates opportunities around that environment because obviously once that place started working, people start coming in, people are employed, people will have to look for a place to live, people will have to look for where to eat, and that automatically opens up that environment. You see, so taking advantage of those opportunities right now is very important. The things that your money could not do 5 years ago, can your money do that now? You know, that's the question you should be asking yourself, specifically for those in the diaspora. You know, um, that is very, very important. Very, very important. Yeah, I talked about um, creating a YouTube channel, which I believe is something that you could monetize as well. It's it's something that I believe it's also great to pay attention to. And then of course you can sell content, whatever contents you have, it could be books, it could be audio content, but whichever one you have, you can use a service like this www.ejunkie.com. You can upload your content and sell it off, and people can buy it and you get paid on delivery. So these are some of the things I think I can share right now on this regard. In summary, these are some of the methods that I would highly recommend. You know, like I said earlier, they might not generally at the beginning generate you income overnight, but it has to do with dedication. It has to do with consistency. It has to do with coming out of your comfort zone. You know, you don't just have to be in a place where you don't um what am I going to say? What word am I going to use? You just don't have to be in a position where you feel like you cannot be able to do it. You know, you have to take advantage of the opportunities. The opportunities, even regardless of what the economy is stating, especially for those in Nigeria, the opportunities is just um more of trying to see those opportunities and take advantage of them. Um, so yeah, that's basically it. Sorry we are a bit over the time, but I don't know if anyone will have any more questions, um, or feedbacks or comments or anything you'd like to add. Is there anything you would like to say? Was the session helpful? Was it clear? I would like to hear from you. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. For the recordings, yeah, I'll be sending it across. I saw it with the um I'll try and see how I can. I would imagine that the file might be quite large, but in any case, if it's
Yeah, please try. I would love to have the recording. Thank you.
okay, I would try to um create a I'll create a platform um where I will just save it up and send the link across, because I would imagine that it will be um quite large to go by email. So I'll be sending the slides by email, but then I'll create um I'll create a link and send across where you guys can get access to download the recording. Um, thank you so very much all for joining the webinar today. I would like you to also let others get to know about my YouTube channel, because I believe they you get you get you get more information um there. I do post um regular information there, like from several topics. I know some people had sent me questions that they would like to um get contents on, and I'm actually working on those. So the last recently I had one of the Q&As where I shared a bit more on several important subjects. So you can also make reference to that. Please just subscribe to the channel, share with your friends, um, just let them know the importance of um, the importance of how it it's like how important it is to be very intentional about their finances. It's it is very, very important. So just just seeing some of your thank you so much. Thank you. Can I share the link to and yeah, 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 sure, sure, sure. I will send the link to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your feedbacks. This means a lot to me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the time. Thanks for joining. And yeah, like I said, I'll communicate soon as to when we'll be having that webinar with my colleague on investments, especially with more emphasis on the Nigerian stock exchange. So I'll communicate when that's going to be. But thank you so much for joining today, and I'll see you all again soon. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.